Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about how I stopped worrying about what people think of me as a parent and as a person, and I was hoping to share my tips with you on kind of how I went from being a people pleaser and so worried about what people think all the time to just worrying about what I think, and it has relieved a lot of stress off of me, off of my family. Yeah, I'll just get into the story. Okay, so what I want to talk about what I used to be like. So when I first got married, and then just before I got pregnant, and when I was newly pregnant with John, my first, I had in my head the type of parent that I was gonna be and what I was gonna look like as a pregnant person, and yeah, just kind of how my life was gonna be. I was gonna be the perfect mom that had it all together, of course, you know, all the time. I always had the perfect hair, perfect makeup, the mom that worked out through her entire pregnancy, the mom who had the easiest pregnancy, because I could control that totally. Yeah, I was just gonna be the perfect mom who was like just always on top of things, had my kid enrolled in every single sport, and just had it all together. So when I got pregnant with John, I had a very, very bad pregnancy. I'm not gonna get into it. If you followed me long enough, you'll know all about my journey. But I had a very bad pregnancy. I was throwing up like 10 times a day minimum. I would lose about, actually this was the same for all three of my pregnancies. I lost like 15 pounds in the first 4 or 5 weeks of being pregnant, or I should say of knowing that I was pregnant. So usually from about week 7 to like week 11 or 12, I would lose like 14 pounds just from throwing up and not eating. So I was very sick. I had a lot of issues through my pregnancies. So that wasn't going the way I planned. And as I neared the end of my pregnancy and was about to have my son, I had a plan in my head that everyone was gonna see me. It was not about what I wanted, it was more about how I wanted people to see me. So I was like, I was gonna bounce back to my pre-pregnancy size. I was gonna have the easiest and most perfect labor. I wasn't gonna have, I didn't even know there was such thing as postpartum depression, but I just thought that I was gonna just adjust perfectly into having a baby, and he was never gonna cry, and it was gonna be just like this easy peasy thing, right? So I got a ton of stretch marks, I'm gonna be honest. I got a ton of stretch marks on my stomach because I grew so fast. I didn't look like I was pregnant until I think like 6 or 7 months. People didn't believe I was pregnant, but then from that point to 9 months, my stomach grew a lot. I had an almost 9-pound baby. So my stomach just grew really quick in that short amount of time. Plus my mom and everyone had stretch marks. It's genetic as well. So I couldn't control that, but when I found out that I had them, I was like so upset. I was like, oh no, what are people gonna think, blah, blah, blah. Not that anyone's gonna see my stomach, but anyways, so I had all these plans just because I wanted to impress people. I wanted people to think only the best of me. And then I had John, and that's where it went downhill, not in terms of like my life. I love him. No, it went downhill in terms of how like my plans were working out. He was a very good baby, and I was very blessed, but he had trouble latching. So nursing didn't go well. I had severe postpartum depression, and it kind of hit me all at once because I didn't even know that that was a thing. And then when I was like, why am I so depressed? I'm never a depressed person. What's going on? Everything kind of just hit me. So I would go out and people would see me like giving him a bottle. So I thought I was gonna be the perfect breastfeeding mom and not give him formula. But I didn't have a choice. So I was giving him a bottle. And I was very depressed, and people noticed that I was. And that was, for me, was huge. I was like, what are people gonna think? And I would start getting even more depressed, just thinking what people were gonna think of me. And it got really bad. It got to the point where I would literally be sitting up at night not being able to sleep, and my husband would be like, what is going on? And I'd be like, people probably think I'm the worst mom because I'm bottle feeding, and they probably think I'm terrible because I'm depressed about having him, and like all this stuff. And Patrick was like, why do you care what people think? What do you think? And that kind of started to shift me a little bit, but my mindset didn't actually change until I had my 3rd kid. So I don't want to make this video super long. I'm going to kind of skip a little bit to kind of end of Aaron, beginning of Lily, beginning of my 3rd pregnancy. I had some people who I thought were my friend, and they were talking behind my back to some of my other friends about just about a lot of things. about how I was a lazy parent because I have a lot of siblings, and I let my siblings help me out quite a bit with my kids. They watch my kids for me and they babysit and stuff. So I had a lot of people saying that I was a very lazy parent because I gave my kids to my siblings a lot, which I didn't. They watched them once a week if I was lucky. And even now, like, my kids only are hanging out with them like once a week. But anyways, they were saying a lot of things. They started really getting to me. Somebody said that because we had bought a house 6 months after having John, and I was really young to have our first home, and then now we moved into our second home a couple years later, which was like much bigger and really nice. So I had a lot of people who were saying that they made these stories up, but they were saying that like my parents had bought us this house and stuff, which was definitely not the case. My husband and I paid for it ourselves and saved every penny that we had. But anyways, I got so depressed thinking that people were thinking these things of me, and I would sit there and just think about it and think about it, and it would like eat my brain, because I was like, I have to prove to them that that's not the case, that I'm an amazing mom, or that like this and that. And it was getting so bad until a good friend of mine said to me, who cares what they think? If they're gonna think that of you, let them. Like, who cares? Because that's not the truth, and that's just all on them, that they're like making up these stories. It's not true. What do you think? So I sat there and I was like, well, I think that I'm doing a damn good job. I mean, my kids are in a daycare. I don't have babysitters to come and watch my kids. I take care of them all by myself. I'm doing this and that. So I started kind of lifting myself up. So here's where my first tip comes in. What I did that really kind of helped me start getting out of that, like, what do people think of me phase, I guess, was I got a paper and I wrote down all the things that I was proud of myself. So for one, it was having 3 kids under 3 years. The second thing was that I was still, you know, able to work out for the most part through my pregnancies, that I didn't just, you know, sit down and, you know, let my health go down the drain. So I was like that. I put anything that I was proud of. So that one on my list. The next thing was that my house was fairly clean. Not all the time, but I was doing my best. And that I was always making home cooked meals for my kids. And like, I just put a list of everything. That I graduated university. That was huge for me. I graduated university while having a newborn, which was huge. I wrote my exam on the day that I was supposed to go into labor with John, and I was having contractions in my exam. So I was like, that was impressive. So all these things I was proud of myself, I put down. The things that people didn't know about me, that only I would know, or that my husband would know, I would just put everything down. And then I looked at this list and I was like, it was a pretty impressive list. It was long because I really haven't taken the time to sit down and think about the things that I'm proud of myself. I always just think about what people see through their eyes. So if somebody thinks that I'm slim, I'll say that's a good thing because somebody thinks I'm slim, but really it doesn't matter what they think, it's what I think. Somebody said to me that a lady who never knew me in the grocery store was just really sweet, and my kid was crying and she was like, you're such a patient mom. And I'm not a patient mom. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not. I lose my shit all the time. But because she said I was a patient mom, I was like, wow, I'm amazing, I'm a patient mom. And that's not true either. So I always used to think the good things about myself that people would tell me, but I never sat down and thought, no, what are truly the good things about me that I'm proud of? And so that's what I wrote down on the list. Not what people see, not what people think, what you truly think about yourself and what you see. So those were the accomplishments that I put down. And then every day I would read these and read these. And then if somebody ever said something on, like, contrary to what I wrote on the list. So when I wrote down that, like, how we saved for a house, that was on our list too, that we, you know, even though having 3 kids and all that, we saved for a house. I put that on my list, and then somebody, like, when they said to somebody else that you know, my parents paid for this home, I don't even know where they got that information from, but when I said my parents paid for that home, I said, like, I would look at my list and I'd say, no, I'm proud of this, it's on my list, and this was due to my hard work. Who cares what they think? So that's kind of what I started doing, and whenever somebody made a comment, I would just say, no, I'm proud of this, I made this accomplishment, even though you think that I pawn my kids off to other people, that's not true. I'm watching them all the time, so I'm proud of that, and I wouldn't let it get to me. And I know it's easier said than done, and it took me a while to kind of adjust my way of thinking, but I started getting there. I started getting better and better and better, and now I'm at the point where before, to people, I would always worry about what people would think. So if my house was a mess and I was like losing my mind and my hair was crazy and I was still in my pajamas because I was having a bad day with the kids, and somebody would show up to my door, I literally would run and hide, and I wouldn't open the door because I was like, I don't want people to see me like not in my best state, or in my house not in its best state. So, which is just crazy when I think back, like that's just so immature, but that's what I used to be like. So it did take a while to shift, but now I'm like, if somebody knocks on my door and my hair is like crazy, which is like crazy 99% of the time, and my house is upside down, which it is 99% of the time, I'm like, come on in, come see my mess and enjoy it. This is what real life is like, because it gets to a point where, for me anyways, I was so caught up in what people were thinking that I was making myself sick from stress. And kind of before I end the video, I want to say, if you haven't been following me long enough, I got very depressed with my third pregnancy. And you guys want to know the honest truth, what my biggest depression trigger was when I found out that I was pregnant? It wasn't about not wanting another kid. I always wanted more kids. I was happy about having the baby. What I was depressed about, and it kind of is crazy to say out loud because it is, to me, like it seems so embarrassing that I would be depressed about that, but it was, what are people going to think of me? What are people going to think that I have 3 kids in under 3 years? They're going to think I'm crazy, that I'm this crazy person who like can't handle it, but I'm having all these kids anyways. And I was just worried, I'm like, what are people going to think of me having all these kids? And then I said that to my mom, and I said that to my brother, and I was to my sister. I was like, what are people going to think? And they just looked at me like, what is wrong with you? They're like, who cares what they think? They're like, what do you think? Like, why do you care what other people are thinking about you having all these kids? And that's what I was like, they're right. Like, what is wrong with me? Why do I care? And I have had so many people say, you're insane. Why would you have 3 kids? You're so young, and like blah, 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 blah. And I know why I have all these kids, and I love having all these kids, but you know, I was like, people don't know the full story. They never do. So that's kind of where I started just changing. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let this stress me out. And I did for a while. I was pretty much until like, I'm going to say month 7 of my pregnancy with my third, I was worried about what people were thinking. I was like, they think that I'm this crazy lady who's having all these kids. But then I think around month 8 of my pregnancy, when I knew this baby was coming, I was like, you know what? Screw everyone else. I'm excited. I'm going to have this baby. It's going to be great. And that's when I finally started releasing myself from everybody else. And when I had my third, it was the first time I never had postpartum depression. I didn't have postpartum depression with her because at that point I was like, I don't care what people think. If they think my house is a mess, good. If they think I'm a mess, good. If they think I'm crazy to have 3 kids, well, I don't care. I like my kids. And that's kind of what happened. And I know there's still moments of my life now where I am concerned about what people think of me. But I don't let it get to me. There are moments where I mean, I'm human. So there are moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, what's that person gonna think if they caught me in the grocery store and I have all these baby hairs sticking out? My eyeliner is like dripping down my face. I'm like, oh my gosh, I run to somebody that I know. Anyways, it gets to me, so, but not all the time. So I have made a huge shift, and that was the biggest thing. And my first tip was to make a list. My second tip was really to just sit down and think about what's important. Those people that are commenting and saying bad things about you, or kind of like, yeah, commentating on your life, that don't know the full story, they're not your friends, so ignore them. Just seriously ignore them. And that was like huge for me. Was I kind of did a friend detox. I had a big group of friends that weren't super close to me. I only had a small group of friends that were very close to me, and so the big group that I found were toxic and were saying things behind my back and that were not agreeing with my lifestyle choices, I let them go, and I don't even talk to them anymore. And sometimes they reach out to me and, you know, want to see how I'm doing, and I feel like maybe it's because they just kind of are curious and want to, you know, poke into my life a little bit. So I don't even let it get to me. I don't respond. I just keep the closest group of friends. And the third tip was just helping and like talking to people. Like I talked to my brother and my mom and my friends, my close friends, and they were the ones that were like, forget what everybody else thinks, only worry about what you think, because that is the most important. And that's when it really changed for me. And I even have a hard time sometimes on YouTube. Like I see all these moms who are on YouTube and they always look flawless, like they're beautiful and their makeup is fully done and their house looks perfect and it's like so beautifully decorated and all these things, and I'm like, I don't have time to do this. But I get so like stressed, and that when I film my YouTube videos and my makeup is not done and my hair is crazy and my house is like a mess or boring, I'm like, I hope that my YouTubers are like, you know, what are they gonna think of me? But then I sat down, I was like, no, I think people kind of like to see the more raw and real life, because the truth is moms don't always have time to do makeup. I mean, I don't. If I get 5 seconds to film a YouTube video, I'm like, thank you God. So anyways, that was just an honest video. I just want to be honest with you guys. When I was a new mom, I had like all these things in my head about what I wanted to be and how it was gonna go, and it was all because I wanted to impress people. I was like, I want to be the thin mom and the mom that bounces back and the mom that has the perfect hair and the perfect kid, because I want people to think that I'm perfect. And that's just, nobody's perfect, first of all, but second of all, that's just unhealthy to live your life like that. It's just stressful, and I had a lot of stress, and it triggered a lot of health issues due to the stress. So I want to share that with you guys, so you guys can, and I know this video is not going to be like that trigger point for you to be like, I'm going to stop thinking about caring about what people think, because it's much harder and it goes much deeper than that. But definitely to think, like if somebody makes a comment about something about you or your lifestyle, just hold up and think, how important is this person to me? And if it's a nobody, a person that you never see, a person that always says bad things and gossips about everybody, then let it go. Honestly, let it go. So that's my tips for you moms and dads out there. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate everybody, and especially if you're engaging with me, commenting, liking, I really do appreciate it. Just engaging with me. I love talking to you guys, and even if I don't respond to you right away, because I'm busy with the kids, I always do try to respond to everyone, and I really do enjoy communicating and getting to know all you moms out there. So thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, for watching my videos, for listening to me ramble on. I really do appreciate it. I love you all, and I will see you in my next one.